Hey, what's up everybody? D Amazing here, bringing another review. This time of the DC Icons Nightwing. So, let's get started. I know I'm doing something a little different than what people see me do, and I think that's good, because change is good. So let's start by going with the Nightwing. First off, it's one of the later DC Icons from the now defunct line. It's the last of its kind, because now they're starting with a new line. But I love Nightwing so much that I decided to review it. The figure actually came out really great. The sculpt is really nice. It's really hefty on the articulation in a lot of places, but it is pretty bad in some spots. So let's talk about that. First off, I want to start by saying the later line is actually much taller than the previous ones. I know they started out really small, about SHF size. Now they are closer to, I would say Marvel Legends and other imported taller lines. But the fact of the matter is, they're just a nice scale now, and it's something we can go by. I'll get into a size comparison later. But as far as articulation, Icons is actually pretty close to Marvel Legends and other import. Well, it's a close blend between Marvel Legends and other imported lines, I should say. Because as you can see, it now has the ab crunch, which it already had. The torso swivel is actually nice. It rotates left and right. It rotates back pretty well. I have a small smudge on mine. It rotates back and forth pretty well. The legs actually go pretty high. The one downside to this, though, is that there is no thigh swivel. Throughout the line, we were promised thigh swivel in the beginning, and we didn't get that at all through any of the figures. I know there are people like Bill Morrow who have modded theirs to have thigh swivel and thigh cut. I'm definitely going to have to hit him up about that. Now, as you can see here, the articulation is actually pretty nice. The only problem is looking back is actually pretty difficult for Nightwing. The head peg actually doesn't allow for him to go back. And that's one thing that is a drawback. With the thigh cut, it just doesn't seem like he can look up pretty well or do pretty crazy dynamic poses. But as you can see, you get bicep swivel, it's double jointed, and you actually get lower forearm swivel, so you actually rotate it around. So that's all pretty good things. You also get lower calf swivel, which is pretty good, which tries to make up for the lack of the thigh swivel, but it's just not enough. You need it to cut in certain places so that way you can hold pretty good stances, especially when you're that of like Dick Grayson, who's that of an acrobat. So it's pretty difficult to try to recreate those poses without looking crazy as far as dynamics. Here he is in a nice pose. The only other thing that I don't like that's lacking of the thigh swivel, I think that the chin is just a little too square for Dick Grayson. But that could be more of a preference than what it actually is, depending on the art you're going by. You can aim for the Doug Mackey art where it has the really strong chins, or you can aim towards more like Lionel Yu where it's more smooth and crosshatched. But it's all preference. Now, as far as accessories though, Nightwing actually comes with 2 billy clubs, which is his signature thing. It's really nice. I like them a lot. They're simple, nice, black, and lightweight. Nightwing also comes with hands for carrying him. Now, the thing about the hands though, and I want to get into that because I spoke to some friends and everyone else who pretty much bought Nightwing. And the thing that bothered me is that it looked like he comes with 2 of the same right billy club hand. They almost look identical, except one actually comes with, it just looks a little bigger. And in my opinion, I'm going to get into that in a second, it comes for another accessory. I could be wrong, and it just be that it's a factory defunct and it comes with 2 right hands, or it could be meant for something else, but we're going to go into that. You also get 1 left hand for holding the billy club, and you get 1 hand, which looks like it's for doing tricks with the billy club, or holding it a certain way, like a signature move from Dick Grayson. You know what I mean? You also get a grappling hook. Now, this attachment is actually pretty nice because it extends on the end of the billy club to make it look like, you're grappling across. Obviously, if you pull too far, it'll come right off your billy club, like it just did mine. I actually have to mod the inside of it because the string is actually getting in the way of my billy club, so I have to work on that. As you can see, mine is just worried about the inside of my billy club. Now, what I was also saying was, on the one with the larger slit in the hand, I was assuming, and this is just me assuming, you can actually use it to hold the string pretty well because you can cut the opening in the fingers, so you can actually make it look like he's grappling or hanging from a building or anything of that sort. So that's what it just was, for my opinion. I could be wrong for that, but that's just my thing. Now, as far as height, like I said, this is later on in the Icons line, which is now defunct. I'm going to show you what he's like compared to other figures. I'm going to stand him up straight as possible. That way you can get the best comparison as possible. What's really cool is that John Stewart came later in the line, so he's actually about the same height, which works really well if you want to do Brave and the Bold team-ups. Here I am going to compare him to the Mafex Batman. For those of you that want to do any Batman and Nightwing team-ups, he's still shorter than Batman, so it's enough that you can make the figure look cool, and they can do a cool team-up. Here he is next to an SHF Kamen Rider Amazing Kuga. And as you can see, he's taller than Kuga, whereas the previous icons were actually around the same height. So he's actually taller. Here he is next to a Marvel Legends Spider-Man. They stand about the same height, so it's actually pretty cool. So now if you want to do your Marvel and DC crossovers, it's actually very much possible to do so now. Here he is next to the Mezco Joker. He is smaller than the Joker, but still looks like he can work pretty well because Nightwing is not that tall of a guy, so it actually works out. And here he is next to Mezco Batman. Again, smaller than the Batman, so a team-up is very much possible. It's easy for you guys to kind of just get the gist of what's going on. And last but not least, here he is next to an Articulated Icons Ninja and a Synthetic Human Carb. So they work really well with ninjas, and we all know Nightwing tends to fight tons of ninjas, especially if he's fighting Ra's al Ghul. So you can fight mechanical ninjas, you can fight non-mechanical ninjas. It is what it's going to be. So in the meantime, hope you found this informative. I am all over the place today. Hope you found it informative. I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope you guys learned something today. In the meantime, guys, be good, do good, drink your water, keep those hearts full.